What's up, peeps? Good evening, peeps. So, I've been sick. I caught a nasty cold. Then I had to start packing. So, I'm finna get up out of here. So, today I want to talk about emotional unavailability. I keep meeting these dudes. But I kind of blame myself because since I'm such a nurturer, I probably pick broken motherfuckers because, oh, the baby. And I thought I'd close my puppy. I did close my puppy shelter, but still. So, I'm going to talk about some of the biggest signs in dating someone that's emotionally unavailable. So you know the signs and you can see them when they come. So, the one that's the most obvious to me is that if you try to get them to talk about how they feel or how they feel about you, they're at a loss for words. They clam up or they get upset, or you can see them like, like, oh my God, she's making me talk, or he's making me talk. When they shut down and they can't express how they feel about you or about anything for that matter. That's one of the biggest signs. Another sign of emotional unavailability is the need for them to have you participate in keeping up a certain facade. Like, let's say this person is known by his friends to be, big pimp, and he makes all this money and blah, blah, blah. He's not going to want you talking to anybody he knows or behaving in or mentioning anything that would make his peers think that he's less than the persona that he has created or she has created. I'm sorry. I talk about things from my perspective. I don't date women, so. Another sign of emotional unavailability is they act distant, or they're just too cool. Like, they ain't got time to show emotion. Like, they ain't got time. They're never upset. Get the heck out of here. Everybody gets upset sometime. I'm about to cuss. A mother scrunchy that acts like he's too cool and nothing phases him means inside him, he's bubbling up with upset anger. And one day, it's going to burst like a dam. So, watch out for that. Another sign of emotional unavailability is he can't touch you. They can't touch you. Sorry, guys. They can't touch you without it being sexual. Like, there's no hugs, there's no kisses, there's no holding hands. And if you try to, they get tight. Like, oh my God, she touched me in public. Or he touched me in public. What do I do? That's another strong sign of emotional unavailability. The inability to touch another human being without it being sexual. If it's uncomfortable to them, that's weirdo stuff. Sorry, it's weirdo stuff. Babies die without touch. It's a normal human thing, touching one another. Shit, I probably touch people too much. I touch strangers. I'll pat them on the shoulder and be like, oh, honey, don't worry. Because I'm old school. Shit, we didn't have to worry about going to jail for being nice. Another sign of emotional availability is they don't show any vulnerability. Like, you'll never see them cry. You'll never see them talk about anything emotional. They'll tell you they cried about something, but you'll never witness it. And if they do cry in front of you, it's going to be a couple tears, and then they're going to hurry up because emotional vulnerability to them is weakness, and they don't want to seem weak. They want to seem like, I got it all together and nothing phases me. Everybody's fazed by something. It's not even normal to not feel anything. Come on now. Like, let's be real about life here. Like, everybody feels something. But if they act like they don't feel anything and that's all good. No, it's not. Because underneath, like I said, they're brimming with upset and anger. And one day, they're going to pop off on you. The pros will pop a little bit and you'll catch it and they'll pull it back. Because I've been in situations like that where You could see it on their face that they were about to snap the hell out, but they pulled back. When I'm mad, you know I'm mad. I can hear my mother. You're not mad, you're angry. Mad means crazy. When I'm angry, everybody knows I'm angry. In fact, I throw my energy around like a frisbee so everybody knows I'm salty without me saying a word. Another way to tell that they're emotionally unavailable is they get really defensive. Like anytime you try to point out a character flaw, if you try to point something out and say, hey, I noticed so-and-so and such and such. Maybe this is something you need to work on, so because it'll be better for the relationship. Or this is something you need to work on because it'll be good for you and me. They'll get mad. Angry. Mommy. They'll get angry. Very angry. Like, they don't like the fact that you're making them face themselves. Like, that really, really pisses them off. Another way to tell if a person is emotionally unavailable is that they'll tell you you're too sensitive or you're too needy because they don't know how to feel feelings. And since they don't know how to feel feelings because they've turned them off, and it's usually some childhood thing, mother, it's usually a parental unit that either was absent or was present and absent emotionally, or they never got hugged and kissed, or they were never, so they don't know how to express it and they don't know anything about it. So they're just walking around living life with a bare minimum amount of physical touch, unless of course it's sexual. And also even with the sexual touching, they'll only have sex with you every once in a while. Every once in a while. Because they can't deal with the emotions of that. They're trying to avoid anything that makes them feel anything. So they'll avoid that too. You can't even get them to have sex with you. That's some weird stuff, especially when it's a dude, because you know how dudes be most of the time. So, they're quick to blame other people for their problems. It's never their fault because they can't see themselves. And that's another sign. This is a double right here. Quick to blame other people and no self-awareness. Like they'll be doing things and you'll tell them that they've done something wrong, or not wrong, because I shouldn't say wrong. People are who they are and you either deal with their crap or you don't. But people will, they will get upset if you try to what point was I on? Let's stick to the quick to blame others. They'll blame other people for everything that happens. It's never ever ever their fault. Like my friend, he'll hit his leg. No, I can't even get into the example because it's just ridiculous. Let's just make a fake example. His hand's on the couch and he decides to try to do something sexual while you're sitting down and hurts you. Well, you sat down too fast, or you sat down the wrong way. If you wouldn't have sat down that way, that wouldn't have happened. That kind of stuff. Cuckoo. You put your hand there. I didn't even know your hand was there. How you blaming me? I'm hurt. How you gonna blame the hurt person? You gonna make the victim a victim again, like that kind of stuff. Woohoo. No self-awareness. You come to them telling them that you've seen a behavior that makes you uncomfortable and you think is going to be a problem in the relationship, and you bring this up to them and they immediately say, I don't do that. That's not me. I ain't never been that type of person. You trying to make me out to be a bad person, blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. Watch out for that. A lack of self-awareness, like you don't know what you do, that means they're cut off. Not only are they cut off from you, but they're cut off from themselves. Like their ability to feel themselves doing things that are disrespectful or problematic is impossible because they have this persona. And since they haven't lived outside of the persona, there's no way for them to understand what may be right or wrong in a relationship. So That's another one. Another one is, or is that all of them? Let me see. Oh, disinterested in your feelings. You try to talk about something emotional, and they give you a practical reason, like I might be talking about. I was talking to my daughter today, and blah blah blah, and I feel so bad for her, so such and such, and they say something like, "Oh, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Just fan it off." Emotional unavailability. They can't even talk to you on an emotional level because they have no idea what that means. None. It's not in them. They've shut down their emotional self. There's just like, it's like the aura has a wall around it, and you can't poke through that energy field because it's so strong with dark energy that you can't even get through it, because that's their protective layer, and they want it there because to be vulnerable means fear. They're fearful of feeling because more than likely the last time they felt anything, it caused them so much pain that they don't want to revisit it. That's my perception. They don't want to revisit the pain that they felt before they shut down. So they won't ever let anyone pierce through that again because they just can't handle how it feels, what it does to them emotionally. Like, they can't handle it. So they just don't participate. They're self-centered. They need a bunch of attention, but they won't give you any. Like, you'll have to constantly go to them to get touched or hugged or affection, but they never come to you and give it to you. If you don't approach them, you won't get it. You're just crap out of luck because they don't have it to give. They need to keep filling their stores, because if their emotional store feels empty to them because of the wall they've placed around themselves. So they're constantly trying to pull emotion, feelings, and positivity from you. So they end up being energy vampires, really, because they're not giving you anything. They're constantly taking. That's unhealthy for you and for them, because they have to learn how to live in truth. Like, being unemotional is a lie. Like, life is full of emotion. There's always something going on. And I'm not saying run around crying and screaming all the time. That's not what I'm saying, because I'm an empath, so I'm always feeling some feelings, even ones that ain't mine. But I think it's just completely unhealthy to not feel anything. Like, and people will tell you that, don't let your emotions lead you astray. That's true to an extent. But feeling is part of instinct. And I can tell you from experience, there have been a bunch of times that I have gotten a feeling and I was right. And I ignored it because all my life I heard, "You're too emotional, you're too dramatic, you're too that." They're too focused on sexual things. That's another one. And not emotional closeness. Like, they'll come to you to touch your parts, or they'll come to you to touch your body, but like hugging, snuggling, those type of things, it's not in their wheelhouse. They don't know how to be in a relationship and show that type of emotion. Like, it's foreign to them. If it's not titillating, then it's not worth doing. Like, touching isn't worth touching unless some kind of pleasure is going to be drawn from it. And if no pleasure is going to, well, that's not true, because snuggling and cuddling does give pleasure, but it's not the type of pleasure that they need. They want sexual pleasure because it's like adrenaline. There's a rush and then it's gone. There's a rush and then it's gone. They don't want to be constantly immersed in emotion. So they're cool with sex, but they're not cool with intimacy. That's the word. They're not cool with intimacy. Another sign of emotional unavailability is that they have this hidden past. Like, you'll never know everything about their past. Like, if you hear stories about them, it'll be from a friend. It won't be them. They won't tell you about themselves. They won't tell you about their childhoods. You have to peel it from them like an onion. Otherwise, you'll never, and you shouldn't have to go through all that. People should want to tell you who they are and have you know their background, not even their past, just their background, so that you know who they are and what they're dealing with, because they want to know yours. They want to know you're not a thief or murderer or rape. They want to know these things about you, so they should divulge the same in respect to your needs, but they're incapable of doing that. Another one is that they spend too much time with pornography. Because they don't understand intimacy, that's the only thing that gets them in a happy mood, is looking at nakedness. And this runs rampant with us right now because instant gratification, I mean, phone, laptop, Kindle, I mean, you can see it behind. It's so sad to me. When we were little, we had Chester the child molester, and that's sad. But he wore a trench coat and ran around showing his Peter. But like, these people now, like, they need a constant source of some kind of sexual stimulation. Otherwise, they feel like they're not alive. That's sick. That's sick. And I think what's crazy to me is I think that a lot of us women, we have, and probably dudes too, but y'all, men, I'm sorry, y'all, because I only speak from my perspective because I'm a woman. But feel free to criticize me for that because, you know, I don't care. Y'all know me. Whatever. But it's hard to find a guy, I think. I think we've been dulled by television images, video games, the news. That's why I don't watch the news. I hardly watch TV, and if I do watch TV, I'll watch it on my computer, because I feel as though I need to make the choices about what I watch, and I need to be able to mute the commercials, and I need to be able to remove myself from watching things that may be unhealthy for me. So, I see more people jumping on. So I'm going to go back over the list, y'all, so you don't miss anything. So the first sign of emotional unavailability was difficulty expressing emotions and feelings. Like if you try to talk to them about something emotional, they clam up and shut down because they're not capable of speaking about those things. The second one was, I forgot this one, resisting to commit. These are the booty call dudes. The dudes that are like 40, or the women that are like 40, 50 years old and have never been married. Because some of us just end up in bad relationships. I do. I'm too kind and I stay too long. I know what my problem is. I stay too long. Like, I'm just like my mom. I'm like, oh, honey, it's okay. It's not okay. Because if I ain't getting what I need, what am I staying for? That's a self-esteem problem. You know? I'm past that, but I'm saying, been there, done that. You know, I keep it real. Been there, done that. I've been a sucker for years. I mean, sucker. Because I'm just sweet. And I'm like, no. Man's over. I'm like, no. So, resistant to commitment, that's if he's 40, 50 years old and he's never been married, run. Unless he's had cancer or, no. There are people in their bed at the hospital get married. To me, if they've gotten too far in life without ever getting married or ever having been engaged or only had a relationship that's lasted 6 months and you 40, you don't want to commit. You don't have the emotional maturity to be in a relationship and you're avoiding it. Carry on. Acts distant and too cool. I'm going back over them, y'all, just in case you missed any of them. Acts too cool and distant, like nothing ever upsets him. No, I'm cool. I know you're upset because so and such and such happened. No, I'm cool. I'm cool. Everything's cool. Everything is not cool. Your mother's in the hospital. How in the hell are you cool? Come on now. That facade, just the whole bull crap of everything's okay. You know, I'm the man. Okay. Can't be vulnerable. Can't show emotions. Never cries. Well, dudes don't like to cry, but never seems upset about anything. Just, I don't know, just always trying to, everything's all good. Everything is never all good. We're human beings. There's always stuff happening. And you might not be livid. You might not be in bliss. But there's a vast array, especially with our people. That's why Europeans don't understand us, because we have a vast array of emotions. They don't have the spectrum that we have of feelings. It's just not the same for them, which is why certain crimes happen with them. And I'm not being mean to them, just saying. They're different. Their spectrum of emotions is different. So if you meet a brother that doesn't feel anything, you need to be mindful of that, because all human beings feel things, and we especially feel things deeply. So, uncomfortable discussing emotional topics. Like if you try to bring up something close to his heart, like you want to know about a parent that passed away and how they passed, and he clams up and doesn't want to talk about it. No, I can't talk about that. It starts getting angry about it, like you've cut him with a knife or something. That's another sign. What age group for what? Whew. Lord, y'all, I'm getting old. I think I'm having a hot situation. Oh, Lord. Pardon me. Anyway, gets defensive and angry quickly. What age group for what? Because what I'm discussing about emotional unavailability, I mean is in general for anybody of dating age. But like, especially I think for men, because men take their time when they want to get married most times. I think for the getting married and the marriage part of it, where they're scared of commitment, I think if they're like 40, because men take longer to choose. They don't want to make a mistake. I think women will run into a marriage faster. If you're at the age of 40 and you haven't chosen to get married, you need to look at if your feelings and emotions towards the people you date are superficial or are they deep. Can you get deep? And if you can't get deep, you need to find out what in you is broken. Was it your relationship with your mother, your grandmother, a girlfriend you had in high school? What is it about you that has made you scared to feel feelings? Because I don't blame people that are emotionally unavailable, because I understand that the reason for it is protection. But the sad thing is that if you never feel anything fully, or you never try to live life fully, then it's not worth doing. To me, it's just not worth doing. You're wasting your time on this earth, because our Creator uses emotions in order to mature our spirits. That's the reason why we have relationships. The reason why we have relationships is for spiritual maturity. So that when you leave this plane, you've learned your lessons, and you're most vulnerable in relationships. And because of that vulnerability, that's when the Creator will place you in the deepest and most difficult situations, because they want you to learn on a deeper level. And in order to do that, you have to feel vulnerable. So you have to be in love, or you have to have deep feelings towards someone in order for you to understand the lesson and feel it deep enough that your spirit can progress from it. Another sign of emotional unavailability is they feel like you're too needy. And you might not even be needy, but you might be like me, like I'm a smush. So I'll come hug you, kiss you. Hey, what you doing? And then go back downstairs. I just want to show the love. So you should hate drama and games because it should not be a part of our lives. We should be adults about relationships. But these aren't games. These are just, there are just people on this planet that in order to protect themselves from the pain of living, because living is hard. You know, living your life is not for the weak. Like they say, getting old is not for the weak. Living life is not for the weak. You know, you cannot live life and fold. You have to stand back up and keep going no matter what happens. And some of us just, we've been hurt so deeply that we don't want to ever feel that pain again. So we just shut down, you know. So I understand it. It's just, it's not doing the person, that person's not doing themselves any favors. And they're definitely not doing the person they're in a relationship with any favors, because nobody wants to be in a relationship with a brick wall, you know, just going through the motions, like they're never excited to see you. When they leave in the morning, they don't say nothing. They just, all right. You might die when you leave the house. Your car might roll. Like the last thing you said to me was, all right. That's a sign. Something's the matter. Quick to blame other people for their own problems. Like you'll tell them that they're doing something that's unhealthy in the relationship, and the first thing out of their mouth was, if you wouldn't have done so and so and such and such. Really? Me, huh? Like the example I just gave, and I'll give it again, where you might be getting ready to sit down on the couch, and your man might put his hand down where you're about to sit, and you might sit down wrong on his finger and hurt yourself. And he'll be like, well, you shouldn't have sat down like that, or you shouldn't have sat down so fast. You shouldn't have put your hand there. Take responsibility for the fact that when I went to go sit down, there wasn't anything there. The only factor was what you introduced. They need to be able to place blame where it belongs. That is a sign of a healthy relationship. And it's not even blame. Take responsibility for your actions, because blame and shame are bad words. They're bad words. Blame and shame are bad words. You shouldn't be pointing fingers, and you shouldn't be ashamed of anything, because if you did it, you wanted to do it. Like, don't lie to yourself and act like, oh, I'm so ashamed. No, you're not, because you did it. And you had fun when you was doing it. So stop all the hoopla. I hate the words blame and shame. Ridiculousness. Not self-reflective or self-aware. Do things that are disrespectful, or you're out with your man, he's everywhere, but you can't give you 5 minutes. Like, can't focus on you during dinner when you go out. He's focused everywhere but you until it's time to eat. And that's because he might want a bite of your food. But outside of that, he barely talks to you. Or she barely talks to you. And when you bring it up, they say, I didn't do that. And then you bring it up again. And they get even more angry when you bring it up again. Honey, could you focus on me next time we go out? You know, we don't go out that often. I'd like to have your full attention. And they get upset and get angry. Something's wrong. You should be able to talk to one another respectfully about anything, everything. I mean, I know that's not how it is in the beginning. But even in the beginning, there needs to be open communication. How are you going to set a solid foundation? I know it is. It's hard to find brothers too. Trust me, I know. I know. I meet all the superficial people. Um, Difficulty showing non-sexual affection. I've come across this more times than I can tell you. See you. I hugged this dude, right? And after I hugged him, while I was hugging him, he pushed me off of him and said, "Turn around. Let me see what you got on." I'm trying to hug you, and you're worried about my butt. Really, dude? Really? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Just no respect for you as a person. I just did a video on this. Treating you like you're a walking vagina or walking penis. Like, just detaching your sexuality from your whole person. That's a problem. You are a whole person. You're not your vagina. You're not your penis. You're not your butt. You're not your face. You're a whole, like, I can't stand men that hit me with the, "Oh, you're beautiful." I have a mirror. I know I'm not ugly. I'm not the prettiest thing on earth, but I know I'm not a moose. So you saying that to me is supposed to do what? I say thank you. Don't get me wrong. But as a come on, constantly hearing that, it starts to get annoying because you wonder, does our society and our men have the ability to hold a conversation with us that is intelligent? Yeah, it is bad. That is intelligent and talk about the books we've read. You know, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that person. And hopefully when I move down yonder way, I find it. Because up here, it's been a no. It's been a no. And I used to love East Coast brothers. I thought y'all was the bee's knees, but something has gone awry. Disinterested in your feelings or needs. Like, you come to them and say, "You know, it would be nice if you would hug me when you see me." You shouldn't have to say that, but I have. I've had to say to a man, "You know, can you give me a hug when you see me? Like, can I get a kiss?" Like, you shouldn't have to ask for those things. That should be an automatic, especially if he says he loves you. How do you show love to me? That particular person wanted to buy me things. That's not love to me. That may have worked in his previous relationships, but he may have been dealing with some people that were shallow. I can pay for myself. I'm not saying that I should always pay for myself, but most of the things I have, I've gotten on my own. So I don't need you for that. I want you for the experience of love at its best. Like, that's the experience you're supposed to be having if you're in a relationship. So if they're disinterested in your feelings and needs and just fan it off, and no matter how many times you talk to them, this is the point. No matter how many times you poke my out. No matter how many times you talk to them about something that you're uncomfortable with or that needs to change in a relationship, if it never changes and you keep discussing it, stop. Because they don't give a flying foo-foo what you're talking about. You're just there to be what they need you, whatever they're getting out of you. A meal, you cook for them, because that's me. Cook, clean, wash, and iron. You know, my mother. Just trying to get whatever they can get out of you. Overly focused on sexual attention. Like, I dated somebody that, like, he would give me a hug and then stick his fingers between my legs. Is that how we're saying hi now? Can I grab your penis when I see you? Like, is that what we doing? Like, is that how we say hi now? Like, it's hard in these streets, y'all. It's hard when you're dating. And you know what's funny? My ex-husband, he was a cheater, but he didn't have a problem with these things. He had a problem with loyalty. Just You know, yeah. This is why I'm getting my coaching certificate, because I've seen it all. When they come to me with problems, I shall have a solution and a skill set in order to help them get where they need to be. Because I've seen it all. It all. Sometimes they avoid sex altogether because to feel feelings is too much. So, I don't know if it's demonic, but it is sure not healthy. If that's what you mean by demon, you're right, because it's not healthy at all. We're a very unhealthy society, mentally especially. But the colonizer did that on purpose, y'all. So stop watching television all the time. Stop watching their image flash in your face because you forget how beautiful you are if you keep looking at them. Don't compare yourself to the colonizer. He's nothing to compare yourself to. You are the first oldest people on this planet. Remember that. Remember that. Remember that. Constantly, yes, your lower self. Yes, some people live in their lower selves and they don't know how to live at a higher vibration. They don't even want to know. I've tried to teach. Don't want to know. Comfortable being in their lower selves. And I had to learn that. And sometimes women get to a point where they get so lonely that they'll settle for that, even if it's only temporary. But if your spirit allows you to do that, there's something you need to learn from it. Because most times you want to attract things to yourself that you don't need. Yep, only into the physical. Don't care about your mental. Like, I had to tell this man, I was like, why do you only compliment my physical and you never say anything about how intelligent I am, or the fact that I write poetry, or the fact that I draw, or the goals I have, or you just no interest in that. Only interest in how big my butt was getting and how much my breasts were coming out my bra. Just, all lower self stuff. Can't rise above it. Just can't get there. Just can't get there. Spends a lot of time with pornography because since he can't feel regular emotions, the only time he has feelings is when it's below his waist. That's the problem. That's a big problem. If he's showing you a bunch of sexual attention but doesn't hug you, hold your hand, and gets uncomfortable about any public hand holding or hug or kiss on the cheek, and he's like, something's going on. Mama, daddy, grandma, somebody touched him, something done went on. And my point in telling y'all this is this. I think we believe that we have to, yes, sexual programming. That's what television does. I think we just have been taught that because we saw our grandmothers and grandfathers stay in relationships for forever, 30, 40, 50 years. We think that we need to settle so that we can get back to the point where we stay in relationships that long. But that's not true, because right now we're not healthy enough. Most of us are not healthy enough to conquer that. And it's not a problem that we've placed upon ourselves. It's we're in a societal structure we didn't create. The colonizer's world was not meant for us. It still isn't. That's why he shoots and kills us. That's why he poisons our water, our food, and our air. He knows that melanin is a polymer and attracts things, and that his melanin is sulfur based and it'll burn off a lot of these things. Like they're aware of all of this, and because of that awareness, they're using things that are natural to us, like our natural empathetic behaviors, where like these sisters whose children get shot and they say things like, "Oh, I forgive him. Where's your pistol?" Go shoot. See, I'm too militant. I'm gonna get it together. I'm gonna hold. I don't want Facebook kicking me off of here, so. But I'm militant. My dad taught me how to shoot when I was little itty bitty kindergartner. I like guns, but I like books. I'm well-rounded. I'm a little goofy. I'm a little fat. I got a missing tooth. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But my mind and my spirit is right. And not perfect, but I'm getting there. And my point in doing these is to make you all aware of that fact. That it's okay not to be okay as long as you're working on it. It's okay to be okay and want to be better. It's okay to be great and want to be greater. It's okay to be excellent and want to be awesome. It's okay to keep motivating yourself to get as high as you can get in this life, to raise your spirit to the place where you feel like you're floating on this earth. That is what we're here to do. Not to follow after the colonizer, to try to be him, to try to be like him, to try to even understand him, because you never will. He's not in our wheelhouse. He's not the same. I don't hate him. He is what he is. It's all good. I'm just saying, my work is for us. My work is to help us heal. My work is for my people. That's my choice. And I stand by that and always will. If I ever get to a place where I'm talking to the public, the news, Oprah, whoever the hell it is, I'm going to tell them that. I feel like my job is my people. If you don't like that, don't deal with me. Because I feel like that's what I need to do. It's what my grandfather did. I want to follow in his footsteps. I want to make sure we're okay. So I wanted to go over this list because at the very least, if we're aware of the things that are keeping us separated, we can work on them so we can come together. Because unless the man and the woman, the melanated man and woman, get together, the war is going to be hard to win. So we got to get it together, y'all. You got to get it together. But I love y'all. That's why I do this, because I love y'all. And I want us to find joy in ourselves and each other, so we don't have to look outside ourselves for it. And I want us to get stronger in our hearts, minds, and spirits so that we can remain on this planet, and especially on this continent, so that we may have it back because it belongs to us. We're the oldest people on this planet, and we need to remember that and get back to our status on earth and do our ancestors well by doing so. I love you all. I love you. And I mean that. I love you. And I don't even know you, but I love you because you're my people. And that's what my father taught me to do and be. So, I'm going to say peace. I'm getting sappy. Y'all know I get sappy every time. I got to quit with the sapitude. Whoo, I'm a sap. But we got to do better, y'all. We got to do better. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to say peace. And I might do one tomorrow. I was so sick, I missed a whole bunch of them. I don't know what it'll be on. Y'all know me. I'll come up with something. But anyway, take care of one another. Be aware of the things that feel negative to you. Pay attention to the things that make you feel good. It is our compass. Your feelings are your compass. Don't run from your feelings. Don't run from your emotions. The things that make you feel most passionate are the things that are important to you. Don't run away from that. The things that feel negative to you, leave in the dust. They're not always for you to conquer. Sometimes it's better to learn how to walk away. So I do this because I'm trying to help guide us to a better place. Because if we can't get it to a better place spiritually or in our minds, if we can't get our minds and our spirits to work together with our hearts, I don't know where we'll be. So I'm working on it, y'all. When I get my coaching certificate, then I could do some real work. Feel me? I'm gonna do some philanthropic things too, like go into my neighborhoods and try to teach sisters how to speak better, how to teach their children better. Don't curse at your babies. Things that should be fundamental but are not. I'm gonna work on that stuff because, like I said, if we don't do better, what's gonna happen to the babies? Our future is doomed if we don't get it together. The colonizers betting on that. And although I don't believe the Creator will allow that to happen, just like you're partially responsible for who your children become, we are responsible for who we become in the future. So it's not all up to fate and chance. There is work that needs to be done. So on that note, I'm going to say peace. I love y'all. Good night.